And in this video tutorial, we're going to be working in Adobe Illustrator to learn a little bit about the Symbols tools and the Puppet Warp option. So first, I have this big blank area over here for the symbols. And symbols are pre-made loaded icons by Adobe. You can download symbol packages or purchase more online. But symbols are not something that I use all the time. They're just there, and I have found a use for them a bit or occasionally. So over here on your panel bar, you might find the, I call it like the 3-leaf clover symbol for the symbol panel. If you don't see that, you might just want to go up to the window drop down, scroll all the way down or hit the down arrow and symbols. And what it brings up first is just this plain tab, and it has a few loaded for you probably. Down here is the library. See, there's a lot more already loaded. So let's just select one like the 3D symbols, and it brings out this other panel for you. So just so you get the feel for it, if you drag one of these out, you can kind of see what this is. It's a pre-made loaded icon itself. When I mouse over it, you can see it kind of looks like the arrow is going to the right, but yet this is a 3D symbol. So this one was obviously extruded or something in Illustrator to change the angle of it. Okay. If you go through some of these other ones, you'll see there's arrows and texture. Some of these are pretty cool that you might want to use. I have used a few of these. Just kind of go into these dot patterns I've definitely used just to add some texture in the background. This grime vector package, I've also used that, like these paint splatters. Okay, I've definitely used this, the hair. So at the very beginning I said I don't use this often, but now I'm kind of saying, hey, I do use this. I don't use this as it seems, but I've used them in very rare occasions. For the amount of designs that I've made, it's not as much as you think. These here that we're coming up on, if I start going through this a little bit faster, I think are very useful, especially if you are in maybe like app developer mobile icons here, or if you are making like websites. You'll see there's a whole bunch of sections for web buttons that are very nice and easy to use, as you can kind of see if I pull one out. There you go. So just making a simple gradient with all these outlines and things, that would take you a few minutes, but they're already preloaded right here. So it would be pretty easy just to use some of these instead of creating your own. So I want you to pull out one icon here, something that you like, something that's kind of funny to you, and then we're going to work with that a little bit. There's a whole section on sushi for some reason. Just going to pull out maybe like a bug, or how about that? The tiki head. I like it. All right. So with tools selected, over on the left side, there's a spray can down here. And out of all these awesome drawing tools, I don't know why Illustrator thought or Adobe thought it would be useful to have so many different options just for symbols for an icon creator or something that's not used as often, I think, as some of the drawing tools. But maybe they have a better reason than I can think of. But we're going to go down through each one of these, and you kind of make your own decision if you think they are useful for yourself or not. I personally have not really used these too much, other than one time that I had to make freckles on a person's face. I made kind of a dot pattern, and I could have done that with a brush, but instead of trying to figure out the randomized section of it, I just used this sprayer tool. So if you select the sprayer tool, you can see this is rather large right now, but if you just start to click on it, it just kind of duplicates and sprays it around. So this is how I made freckles on somebody's face. But again, I don't really find that super useful other than copying and pasting randomly. I guess that saves some time. But I'm going to go in here and go to the symbol shifter, and this kind of just shifts them around. Again, you don't have much control over this. The scruncher, it pulls them together. The sizer, as you can guess, this makes it bigger or smaller. Almost too big, so I'm going to hit undo. The spinner, it's going to rotate the direction of them. The strainer, this one takes kind of the color away out of it. So this says it has to have a solid fill color. So some of yours, it might actually be able to take the color out. The other demo I did, it actually did that. This time it didn't. So screener option, I'm wondering if this is going to work either. So the screener option kind of takes some of the color away, and you're going to say, well, just change the opacity. It didn't. It actually changed its color mode to screen. So depending on what the background color is, it's going to show up differently. Then the last one here, it says a styler option, which this I don't believe is going to work either, because you need to have a graphic style panel. But as you can see, the symbols are kind of pre-made icons that are there for you. Some of the things that are in there I've never, and I don't think I will ever, find a use for. But then there are a few others in there, like the hair, the fur, commonly drawn things that you might find a use for. So that's the symbols. The other thing down here that I have, the other tool, is called the Puppet Warp. I have used this from time to time. This is kind of hard to master, and I quite frankly think that it kind of distorts your image a little bit, but maybe that's because I'm not as experienced as other people with it. So I have the preset here, picture. This is one that is untouched, and this is one that I morphed afterwards. And this is created by Adobe themselves, right from their website. So you can see after I kind of morphed it, it did change the roundness of the tires a little bit, even though I wasn't dealing with the tires. So that's why I think this warps, like it says, Puppet Warp, kind of distorts or warps your object a little bit too much. So I'm going to zoom in on this girl. I'm going to select her, and over on this left side, I'm going to find the Free Transform tool, and click and hold on it, and you will find the Puppet Warp, and it looks like a little pin, thumbtack. It puts this crazy vector grid over the entire thing. You may already see a few dots on here, and if you just click and hold on those black dots, you can see this will bend and warp and move your current drawing. You can also rotate, but when you do that, it obviously warps of this. So you might not want to do that. And depending on where you put these is how she's going to bend. If I want her leaning forward, like she's riding a bike like this, I'm probably going to put one maybe on her hip, maybe on her neck, okay, some different places so that it correctly. So maybe put one right there. Maybe I want to put one in her neck so that it doesn't her head, maybe even her elbow, you know, like your natural movement points. And now I'm going to start clicking on some of these black dots and seeing if I can shift this thing around. Now, as I move this one down, you're going to say, well, I'm definitely warping the head. I haven't moved the head yet. So if I bring it back down, it kind of brings some clarity or roundness back to her. And you can take her head up if you want her looking up a little bit more. You can put her scarf here and try to warp this. That down. Maybe I want to rotate this so it looks like the wind's blowing. And you can probably do that. Same thing with her hair. Kind of mess around with this and have some fun. But the Puppet Warp tool allows you to take a drawing that you already have and kind of manipulate it and bend and reshape it without having to redraw the entire. I have found some use for this when I'm just doing cartoon images like this, but nothing realistic. Because even though I've only changed this upper portion, you can already see the tires are not perfectly round. And maybe I did something wrong here, but from everything that I've watched, this is pretty much what the does. So have some fun with that.